Hi, just want to share what I'm doing with making my own stamps that I'll be using in my field notes journal. I will have explained a little bit of that in the previous email to this, video, goodness me. But I just wanted to go over it with you first. I've got a couple of ideas, one more simple, one a little bit more complex. So I'll just go through this with you. I fancied just having a silhouette of a bird flying, and I wanted to keep it fairly small. So I had a look on Pinterest and just put in painted flying bird, and it came up with a lot of pictures that I was able to copy and get a bit of an idea of. One of the things that I found, one of the sites that I found showed me how to do a really simple drawing, so it didn't take a lot of drawing skills. They simply started off with that shape that we've all done as kids probably, for a bird in the sky. They added a head shape and a body shape and a tail shape, just depending on what you fancy doing. They then proceeded to fill in the wings to give it a bit more definition. That tail's a bit weird. And then what I did was just filled it in so that I had an idea of what it was actually going to look like once I'd stamped it. And you can see on this piece of paper here just what I had to play with a few different shapes because that was possible. That wing probably needs a little bit of fiddling around with, and that's what you can do. I always have a go on a bit of paper, check out that's what I want it to look like before I go ahead. The next part of that is I've begun cutting out a shape on this craft foam. It's available in lots of craft stores, but the way to get the picture onto the foam was a really simple idea as well. You can use just the pencil that you're using, but I find if you can get something a little bit darker, that helps. The other thing that you want to be mindful of is which way do you want the bird to face. And I actually want it to, when I stamp it, I want it to be, crinkle, I want it to face this way. So be mindful of that when you cut it out, that when you're stamping it, it's going to be on the reverse. So I had a bit of a think about it and I went, okay, it's got to go this way. So I need to reverse the picture simply by tracing it on the way that I wanted to do it and then going over it with a darker pencil. I used this one. It's just one of those Progressos, but it works perfectly okay with a pencil. So I'll show you what I did. It would be good to just try with a little bit. I had a little bit more detail in this one, but realised that was never going to work once I started creating the stamp. So by simply tracing out the shape that I would like, and then turning it over and retracing it. You can always fix up funny little things that you may not have liked the actual shape of. I prefer that wing to come down. Don't probably want that big fat tummy. A little bit of a head shape. And so using the lead pencil, that works perfectly okay. Once you're happy with what you've actually got and you want it to be put on the foam, on the craft foam, it's a matter of getting something that's, and I'll explain about this tool, that you can then burnish it onto here. and it will certainly come out. I'm hoping like anything. No, of course not. I'm not in the camera at all. My apologies if we've missed a couple of those bits, but burnishing that drawing on there gives you that. If the, like I did and I moved it, if you're not happy with it, you could just go over it again. Like I said, colouring it in gives you that opportunity to see exactly what shape it is, what it's going to be. Hopefully I was in the shot, but what I did was I traced it on one side, turned the tracing paper over and retraced it so that when I put it down on the foam, it's going to be facing the way I want it when I turn the stamp over to stamp it. Hopefully that'll make sense. Once I've got it on here and I'm happy with the shape of it, I just use a craft knife. Obviously, please be careful because they are sharp. And I just start going through the foam a little bit at a time, a bit of a layer by layer, because what you don't want to do is cut his wing off. Pushing down on the foam, making sure that you're in the camera shot. Get rid of anything else that you don't want in the way. And then keeping on using the blade to get through that foam, and it's very easy to cut. If the piece is big enough, you can use scissors, your craft scissors of course, not your beautiful sewing ones. But you'll see as I go through that, you know, I'd already done this part prior to turning the camera on, and then thought, oh, I really don't need 40,000 stamps. I'll turn the camera on so that I can share with you how I've got that shape. And this is probably the most simple, easily achieved. You can get the supplies, most craft type supplies. It's often used for children's craft, this foam. You know, it's quite bendable. Nearly broke his wing off. Watch what you're doing. Making sure that, and you know, it comes in a big sheet. If you make a boo-boo, have another go at it. So it's coming away. It's just quite thick, that's all. And I didn't want to take it all off in one hit. Try and get through it in one hit. It's as you can see, it's slowly coming through. Just takes a little bit of patience. That's okay. Watching what you're doing with that blade. This is when I always cut myself when I'm talking about it. If there's little scratchy bits like that, you might be able to just carefully trim them. But it's a homemade stamp. At the end of the day, it's just going to be for your personal use, I'm assuming, but we still want it to look nice. So yeah, I'm only going to keep working on this because I want to show you how it actually stamps up, because it works quite well. I've made lots, maybe not all as finely detailed as this one, but I'm giving it a go with you, and hopefully together we'll be able to produce the effect that we want prior to going on to the next level of stamp making. I've kept a bit of a, you know, it is going to be waste, but I needed something to hang on to while I'm doing it, and you might not want yours as small as this. I just happened to want mine this little. Yeah, just slowly getting through that thickness of that foam. It's nearly there. Nearly. Yeah. I'm not too bothered about this side because that's not what's going to show, but I do want to just have a little bit of a tidy up here. It's got some scrappy bits. Doesn't want to come off that bit. Turn it over and have a go from this side, which just yeah, that worked. The same there, because I'm really just cutting that bottom layer that's going to show up, because these bits here won't show up. It's really easy to use. Okay. As a little stylized bird, I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't want it to have any detail. I just wanted the basic shape. It may go into a background area that I'm working on, or I could make it as a separate little piece. Some little wispy bits there. Now the next thing that I've actually had to play with, and I know that it works, is that I may or may not keep this as a permanent thing, just depending on how it turns out. I just used double-sided tape that you should still be able to see there, I think. But just that, you know, from this, stick my stamp onto it so that it will stay on the block. And not move while I'm trying to stamp it. Okay, I'm going to just put a little bit more on there because his wing was flapping around in the breeze and I don't really want that to happen. Okay. And that way I'm not permanently taking up my acrylic block piece, which I didn't really want to do. But yeah, he won't fall off just while I'm playing with it. I think it's always probably a good idea to have a try on some scrap paper before you actually get around to doing your fabric. This stamp pad might have dried a little bit more than which will give me, the foam I'm noticing has got these little markings in it. I'm all right with it. Let's see how our first one goes. And there he is. I think that looks pretty good. If I was to use maybe some black ink, I could probably fix him up a little bit more with a fine marker. If there was something about the shape that I just wanted to have look a little differently. There he is. And with a very fine marker, maybe this one's a size 2, and on fabric it's a permanent marker. I just thought his face could look, his little head might have been able to have a little bit more definition. Do I want those bits in there? They don't really worry me. But if I didn't, I could always fill them in. And that's just the way the foam comes. It has some markings on it, but I can fill it in. And if I wanted to add a little big, I probably could. Cool. On fabric, much the same situation. This is just a piece of calico, making sure you get plenty of ink on it, because what happens on paper, it just sits on top, but on fabric we do want it to soak in a little bit so that we can see it when we're done. And you could either be brave enough to stamp it straight onto your work, just let it sit there for a second or two, just so that it gets a chance, the fabric gets a chance to soak the ink up. Good, I'm all right with that. That worked pretty good, and that was an archival ink. The other one was a distress ink. That probably will work on, might be a bit black now. Try and get rid of a bit of that. Didn't want it to be quite so. And I guess that's what you've got to be aware of, that if you're stamped with black and you want brown, just remember to try and clean it off a little bit. I don't know what this will turn out like. It might be a blacky brown. No, it turned out brown. But I did bash it on there. You can always make the block more permanent if you want. I got my hubby to just cut me a couple of bits of timber that he just had in the shed and made these. You can stick them onto it with the double-sided tape or a bit of glue, whichever. Another idea that I had was, this was an old stamp pad, probably from my kids' days, because there's no markings on it, that's dried up. And so by putting the stamp on the lid, I've created a stamp block for myself. All of these little bits of fabric that I'm doing, oops, sorry, you know, hang on to those, because they'll, you know, you might want to use them in your work at some point. You can stamp with the ink, or you can stamp with paint. I don't think it really matters. Good. All right. So that's cutting it out of craft foam. Like I said, it's pretty easy to cut with scissors. If I could find, my craft scissors are not my good selling ones. These ones will do. You can cut it with scissors quite easily. So if your pattern, your design isn't too detailed, the scissors are fine. You don't need the craft knife. Good. All right. So my second way of doing it is making my own rubber stamp block, which all I've done is use one of these rubbers that you buy from any stationery supply. Our Kmart store has them somewhere. They're not very expensive, I don't know, $1 or something. No great outlay. And then I'm carving it with a tool that's used for lino printing. I was able to get it through the craft supplier online. I actually bought this one. Sorry, Speedball is the brand. That's what I burnished the print on when I was doing that a moment ago. And I just thought that I would show you that it works just as good on the rubber. I think that was the one I used for there. Might as well just do something a bit different, mightn't I? Yep, he's got a slightly different wing shape. So again, making sure that, I might be able to get this one in camera a bit better, making sure that I retrace it if I've got it going the wrong, you know, this is the way that I want it to face. So remembering that you need to put that onto your, oh, is it? Yes, because when you stamp it, it's going to be back to front. And that would apply to letters if you were making your own alphabet stamp. And by colouring it in, you kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's stamped. And using the back of this tool, so when you're doing that, you could use the back of anything. You know, even scissors would probably, you know, the scissors handle would probably work as well. I'm going to actually cut this and make 2 stamps because I might not want 2 birds at once. So I'm actually going to cut the stamp and I'm done. If you're worried about not being able to see it, you might like to use, you know, a permanent pen. Just would have been good that would have been a little bit finer. But that will give me the basic outline of the bird for me to cut around with the tool. The tool's really easy to use. When it comes, all of the blades are inside there. You can choose whichever blade suits you. I will go to a bigger one in a minute, but at the moment I'm using the smallest one. And to replace the blade, change the blade, it's just a matter of undoing this part here. A bit like, you know, a pen, an ink pen. The blade fits in the space in there. Tighten it up so it doesn't come out. Again, just being careful how you use it. The best advice that I can give you is to push it away, but it carves this out really easily. There's absolutely no problem. By marking the rubber with the shape, the end shape that you want, it gives you a chance to see where to cut, gives you a clear outline. We're certainly not going to be creating anything that's got very, very fine detail, but what we want to do is get rid of anything that the stamp pad will pick up. So it does mean going outside, you know, all the way to the edge. I'm not going to finish this now in this video, but you can maneuver it very easily across that rubber. And so the biggest outlay probably is the tool. This box has still got 24.25 on it, and it was a few years ago, but not that long ago, so there's probably not much difference. But it's the same tool that you would use if you were doing a lino print. We used to do it at school all the time. The biggest you know, technique that you need to do is work out what angle you want the to hold the blade at, so you're not trying to gouge it out, but rather move things again like the foam, just layer by layer. Don't try and get the whole thing done in one hit. What I don't want is that edge there. So I'm planning on going all the way around here so that I'm left with something I can still hang on to stamp, but not get all the additional stuff. This will be a bit of a trial because I won't know until I have a go at it whether or not I've successfully removed all of this extra stuff. If I want to go a little bit quicker, I could pick a bigger tool and that would help me to remove it. I don't want to go too big. That one might be the best one to have a go at. We'll see. I gouge out half the rubber, you'll know it wasn't the right one. Oh goodness, well that wasn't what I wanted it to do. Worked really well before. There we go. Hang on to the blade at the same time. There we go, we're all learning something together here, I think. Because it's this edge here, not this one. This is the one that goes into the tool. And so what I don't want is you know, anything that's too big because the rubber isn't very big. Tighten it up again. Put your blades away, but right now I'm not going to worry. But this will just help to get rid of a bit more bulk a bit quicker, as you can see. But I want the fine one to go around the fine detail. So it's the depth that you go in here that will give you that the fine detail of the bird. Okay, I'm going to stop the video and I'll come back when I've done it because it just takes a little while. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Bye. Okay, I'm back. So what I've learnt with making my own rubber stamps is that this was the first design that I did, and that's what it looked like. Awful. I don't even know what that looks like. It doesn't look like a bird. So I kept chipping away at it to try and make the shape a little bit better. I think I'm probably closer with this one, just need to have a little bit more ink. So then, and all I did was I just used my craft knife and it just cuts, you know, straight through this rubber like the foam. So there's not a problem. So I just wanted to come back on to show you this. So this was my first attempt at stamping with this one. Happy with the shape. But wherever there's ink showing up here is that's these little marks here, which I want to get rid of. So all I'm going to do with this bigger tool is go over it until I've got rid of the black ink that's on the stamp, and hopefully, and it is a bit of trial and error. I'm one of those people that probably enjoy the process almost more than the final result, so I don't mind fiddling with this. This is the sort of amount that I've cut off, and I guess if I really am not happy with it and I need to go back to the drawing board, I've got the other side. Or I did find online a bigger piece that I can cut up, and that's what it's called. It's called Easy Carve Printing Blocks. That's the name of it. I possibly bought it through, in Australia, through Craft Online. I might have got it at an art shop. There's no sticker on it, so it doesn't tell me. But I think Craft Online or those sorts of places do have it. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you was a lady called Jane LaFazio, her website.com, but she does have a YouTube video, certainly not the most, you know, I didn't make it up. I watched her video and feel like I felt confident enough to have a go myself. Her instruction is really simple. So yeah, that was good. But yeah, I just thought if I come back and quickly show you where I'm at with this, you do need to be careful. These little bits of rubber that you're cutting off, it gets a bit stuck on the stamp pad. So just be mindful of that. Might need a wipe with a cloth, hopefully. Just need to see if there was anything else. Maybe this little wing had something going on here. Just what I'm just looking at this bit of picture here that's giving me that information. Like I said, I'm just cutting off, what is that bit there? Oh goodness, that's probably where I was having to go with the knife. I'll show you. It really is. Don't even notice that before. But it's fairly simple. I'm really not putting a lot of pressure on it. It comes away really easily. Just going to tidy it up for my own sanity more than anything else. Yeah, so we'll have another go and see whether or not I've improved improved what I had. It's definitely a better shaped bird. This one is quite peculiar, but you'll see these little white spots. I think you probably can see them on there. That's just the bits of the rubber that are still on here. Okay. Let's see what happens. Still needs a little bit of trimming away. You can see where that happened there. I'll just have a try on the fabric. That's the bit that I was using before. I probably just leant too hard on it. I don't know what I did. But I'll do a double check. See what he looks like. Just holding it for those couple of minutes till the ink soaks into the fabric. Better than the paper. So that was good. I think I probably just did a bit of, wibbling with it. So it, yeah, I did that. All right, I'll go clean up this mess and have a go at my next bit. See ya. Hi, I'm just going to share making a foam board stamp. And I've shared making stamps in the past in another video, but this one was slightly different. Number one, I'm using scissors because I think I've got a big enough design that will cope. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm making, this is a tulip shape, in case you're wondering, upside down, that I want in a stylized form, so it's not going to be one piece, it's going to be actually in 3 pieces. So I just thought I'd come on and share with you because this is going to be used in my Botanical Beauties page, which was tulips for the month of July, and I'm hopelessly behind with that one because I've been fiddling around with a few other things. So I just wanted to show you, number one, how easy it is to cut with scissors. So if you weren't happy about using a craft knife, which I did in a previous video, you could use just your scissors. Now, this is the part that I want to cut out in 3 pieces. And I'm hoping that it's going to work. And I guess if you see this video, it did. And if you don't see this video, it didn't work. Simple as that. Yep. So that's the center piece is there. I'm going to cut this other side of the center piece out. Can't decide whether I want that other bit of the petal as long as it is or shorter. So I'm just going to have a bit of a play here. What it might look like once I'm done. I might need to just trim that so that it looks a bit neater when it's stamped. So it will go, when I cut the right shape out, of course, it'll go like that. But I'm just going, a bit tricky to hold with the scissors. Might have to use a knife after all. Here was me thinking that was going to be okay, but it's just a bit trickier. Just a bit of perseverance, that's all. Sorry, was I off the screen with that bit? Trying to get it a bit closer so I can see what I'm doing. Oh. I really like Art Nouveau design, and it kind of reminded me when I saw this shape that I might be able to make it look a bit Art Nouveau-y. I don't know. Oh, have I got the right side? For goodness sakes. I'm trying to do that one, and I think that's supposed to go there and that's supposed to go there. Oh no, I think that is right. Bear with me while I mutter away to myself. I should have marked them when I cut them, but you can trim it, you know, bit by bit if you're really struggling like I was a second ago, only because it's thick. Sorry, muttering away to myself. All right, I have a pointy bit here and another pointy bit here to make that. Nope, I reckon it goes that way. I reckon I had it right the first time. It goes that way. The pointy bits, yeah, that's it. The pointier bits of the tulip. I want these spaces in here, which is why I'm doing it this way. And then I'm going to print the stem and the leaf separately because I want the tulip to be a tulip colour and the stems and the leaves to be stem colour. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to print just yet because I want to be able to get myself sorted as far as what medium I'm going to use, whether it's an acrylic paint or it's going to be stamp pad. Just depends what I've really got in the stamp pad world, and I don't know that I've got just exactly what I want. So then it's just a matter of using something else. Cool. All right, so that's what it's going to look like. Just as a design feature, I thought that it would look okay. A bit more stylized, not so realistic.